Welcome to another special edition of Daily Airline News. I'm Jeffrey Thomas. Today I'm again joined by Richard Godfrey, the UK aerospace engineer who has perfected and developed Whisper technology to track a new location for MH370. Your feedback has been phenomenal. You've been all asking about, give me more data on Whisper, and we have just the person to do that today. So welcome, Richard, to another special edition. And before we get going into Whisper, and I'm dying to get more information about it myself, can you bring us up to date with where Armada 7806 is at this very minute?
Yeah, Armada 7806 left Mauritius back on the 8th of February and is now well underway towards the search area, or so-called offshore Australia. Uh, it managed to avoid the storm Talia, which is good news, and is now able to go back from an easterly course to a more southeasterly course towards the search area. Some people have speculated that Armada 7806 might go dark once it gets to the search area. They point out if there's still no agreement with Malaysia, then Ocean Infinity might not want to reveal to competitors where they have searched, and therefore they might switch off their AIS satellite tracking system. And I think that would be a reasonable course of action for Ocean
But,
Infinity,
well, that's what I would
should
do.
they do.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
yeah. And they're aware that we're all watching and eager to know. But I think it depends on whether a contract is signed with Malaysia. Another point is some people have speculated Armada 7806 will go directly to Fremantle, a port in Western Australia. I don't think that's going to happen. Fremantle publish a list of ships expected, and Armada 7806 is not on the February list, and it might be on the March list. The ship has a operational endurance at sea of up to 35 days, depending on the weather, depending on the payload, depending on the operation it's undertaking. So that would give Armada 7806 15 days in the search area before it needed to head out to Fremantle for provisioning and refueling, and perhaps even a crew change. But if it went directly, it would be there already by the 27th of February. So that is not the case.
Thank you for that comprehensive update. It's getting very exciting, and there's a lot more inquiries from the media all of a sudden. People are watching our channel intently for the latest update. So thank you for that, Richard. Now let's get on to Whisper, and everybody's, of course, naturally focusing on that because that's the basis of this new search by Ocean Infinity. The work that you did, which was presented to the Malaysians in May of last year by Professor Simon Maskell. So perhaps we can start by you giving us a background to the Whisper and the folks that are involved with it.
Yes, I have two co-authors, Professor Simon Maskell and Dr. Hannes Coetzee. Professor Simon Maskell is the professor of autonomous systems at Liverpool University. He runs the doctoral program. He also leads the big data network in Liverpool. He specializes in research on reconnaissance and surveillance of both aircraft, ships, land-based vehicles, and even space-based vehicles. So he's a very clever guy in that domain. Dr. Hannes Coetzee is works for Hensoldt and is working on a state-of-the-art Pegasus project together
Mm.
with Hensoldt, Lufthansa Defense, and Bombardier Defense. They're building three aircraft at the moment for the German government, and the idea there is to be able to track all the radar and radio signals in a certain space in order to see, in the event of a conflict like the war in Ukraine, exactly who is where, just tracking the signals that they're sending out, either radar or radio communication signals. So both these gentlemen are really state of the art, and we're using this technology to help find MH370.
Yep. Yep. So, talking of aircraft in the air, and let's get down to Whisper. At the moment, at any one time, there's 20,000 aircraft in the air being tracked by various means, and with ADS-B data, for instance.
Yeah, there are 10 million of us who get on a plane every day. There are in total 75,000 aircraft movements in a day, and as you say, 20,000 in the air at any one time. So that's a huge aviation industry. I think many of us are familiar with websites like Flight Aware or Flight Radar 24, which use ADS-B data to track aircraft. The unfortunate thing is that on a long haul flight across the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific or the Indian Ocean, you can only track when you're close to land. ADS-B receivers are all land-based. There are a few satellite-based, but that tracking is quite intermittent.
Yes, indeed. So let's get down to Whisper, and can you start walking us through how Whisper works?
Whisper uses radio signals from radio amateurs. They have collected radio signals in a database. There are meanwhile over 9 billion data entries in this database going back to 2008. So we can use Whisper data to track aircraft currently, but also historically. So we can go back, for example, to 2014 when MH370 was in the air. And we're looking at this data to find anomalies in the signal or in the frequency received in all of these various radio signals that are beaming around the world. So, for example, we take one of the flights recorded in the ADS-B database, which is also huge, with, you can imagine, 75,000 aircraft in the database every day, each with 100,000 rows of data. It's 7.5 billion rows of data a day. So it's what we call big data, and you need a large computer system to be able to manage all of that. But we take a flight, we've taken thousands of flights, but for example, a flight from New York JFK to Amsterdam, and you have ADS-B data at the start when it's over Canada, and heading out towards the Atlantic, and you have it at the end when it gets close to Ireland and flies over the UK to Holland. But there's a big gap in between for several hours where its position is only estimated. So we track
Mm.
it for the whole flight with Whisper. We can compare the Whisper tracking to the ADS-B data where we have it. And where we don't have any ADS-B data, we can follow the track, and and we can do that every 2 minutes. So you can imagine in a 7 hour flight like MH370 was, every 2 minutes means that you have over 200 points or hits. So in the end, with such a large data volume, you get to a 99% certainty of the track that an aircraft like MH370 actually took.
Yes, that's my understanding is from all the work you've done and reading the reports, not necessarily understanding it all, I can assure you, but one gets the impression that it is incredibly accurate, which is wonderful and very positive for the search. Moving on. With the Whisper, it's being developed even further now by Professor Simon Maskell. Instead of tracking one aircraft, I understand you've done a recent, or he's done a recent study where I think they were tracking 47 777s at the same time. Is that, correct me if I'm wrong?
No, that was a study I did and
Oh,
published together with him. What
mm,
they're doing now is literally thousands of aircraft.
is that right?
So they they have a large computer at Liverpool University. They can handle big data, and they intend to publish. There's a IEEE journal, which is the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers, um, and they have a section on. They call it antenna and wireless propagation. Sounds a bit scientific and technical, but
It is.
uh, Simon plans and his team together to publish several papers in this journal, and it'll be interesting to have a much wider academic peer review of this work.
And of course, that leads then to people being able to use this technology that you've evolved to investigate things and not rely on governments, for instance, to publish data. Uh, anybody could check up on and to see whether certain things took place or did not take place.
Indeed, I've been asked by human rights organizations to investigate military aircraft used in genocide attacks, for example. Uh, I've been asked by a missionary society that lost a helicopter in the Philippines, and another missionary society lost a pilot and an aircraft in the Atlantic. So you can go back in time and look at the data and track these aircraft even when there's no available ADS-B data or radar data um, in these cases. So it has quite clear use in such investigations. But as always, the military are way ahead and using this technology already, and there are huge interest in from the military in many countries in what they call signal intelligence, taking
Mm,
whatever data they can gather from radio signals and radar signals. Radar is just another form of radio signal.
indeed, indeed. Look, that's thank you for that wrap up on Whisper. And viewers, for more information on this, there's a link to Richard's website in the description below. There's also a link to our new website, 42,000 feet or 42kft.com, in the description below, which I think we called it 10 things you need to know about Whisper technology. And there's more explanation and data there as well for those who want to really bone up on this. But this is getting very exciting, Richard. Ocean Infinity 7806 will be in the search area this Sunday, and let's hope, let's really hope that they find it. Now, viewers, tomorrow, please tune in again for more because we're going to have a good look at the equipment being used, although we've already touched on it, I know, in the episode before. We're going to look more deeply into how the data is collected and then downloaded and analysed, which will be fascinating. So thank you for watching another edition of Daily Airline News, special focus on MH370. Please subscribe, please like us, and please do leave your comments. We really do appreciate them, and we're trying to respond to them. And do tune in tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.